Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Marketer's Blueprint podcast. I am your host, Nathan Gibson, and of course, I have with me Mr. Gabe Arnold. Gabe, how's your week been?
Fantastic. I got a nice walk in this morning with a couple friends, and it's super warm. It was 30 degrees, so it was better than a couple weeks ago when it was 10 degrees.
Exactly, yeah. Here in Indiana, it's been pretty cold, but the sun is shining today, melting off maybe a centimeter of that snow that's been out there for so long. But it's definitely been chilly. But I've been enjoying the cold weather somewhat. But we're so happy to be back as we get into this mid-January episode. We have some exciting things to talk about with you guys today. Um, I'd like to start off with this. So we're going to talk about vanity metrics in today's episode and how they tie into social media, which we feel is really important as we dive into trends in 2025, what works and what doesn't work. We want to make sure you guys are informed of what metrics to truly look out for. So the vanity metrics of social media, which really are things like likes and followers, might boost your ego a little bit and feel good, but they're not telling you the whole story. So, what should you be paying attention to on social media these days? That's a question that a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs are asking themselves. In other words, what actually matters in social media in 2025? What should we really look for in successful social media campaigns? So that's what we're going to dive into today. If you don't want to waste precious time and resources on things that don't matter and instead focus on strategies that will really truly drive your business forward as it pertains to social media, we've got your back. That's what we're going to dive into today. But first, as always, we need to do our marketing minute, Gabe. Everybody seemed to really like that on last week's episode, so I really kind of want to do it today. So we're going to put 60 seconds on the clock. And Gabe, I want you to share whatever marketing advice or life topic that you feel people should know today. And we can go ahead and go now.
All right. So, as it relates to vanity metrics, I'll tell one story that I have a friend that I've met on Facebook and have become good friends with, and they have 600 friends. That's it. And they generate between 750,000 and $1 million a year. And about half of that comes from Facebook. And so when we think about vanity metrics, it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality of the
Yeah.
relationships we have. And we develop quality relationships by truly engaging with people, by following, what they're doing and commenting and encouraging them, by messaging them, by getting on a call and getting to know them and just learning about who they are as people. And when we take that relational approach, then we crush everybody else's game when they're just trying to get views and likes and engagement. Engagement doesn't necessarily equal any results, and so it's important that we really focus on investing in our relationships if we want to be successful with our marketing.
And that was pretty close to admit it. Good as always. And I think you're so right. That's an incredible metric to have only around 600 friends or followers on a social media platform, which is relatively low in today's day and age, where you can add people for anything. So that's really important to remember, that just because you have a lot of followers or a lot of friends don't mean that those are quality connections, things that you can actually invest in, and real people that are worth having. We spoke about before about like email lists. Just
Mm.
having a huge email list is not as advantageous as having a solid email list, of real people who will engage. And that's what we'll dive into today with social media. So what really matters in social media in 2025? And it's exactly what we just talked about, and that is one word: engagement. Over likes, over follows, over anything, engagement is about sparking authentic conversations and building real relationships that drive meaningful interactions with your audience. While having a large following is nice and can have some advantages, it doesn't necessarily translate to engagement. We know this as a business. And really, what you should do is focus on building a loyal, engaged audience rather than chasing empty numbers, right?
Yeah, it's important to realize that there's plenty of people that will teach you. You can buy their courses, you can follow what they post online. There's plenty of teach people that will teach you the fast food approach to social media.
Mm.
Here's how to get everybody to react or laugh, or here's how to get conversations started by asking, like, you know, do you like pineapple on your pizza? Or, like, I've seen so many versions of stupid questions that people post online, and you can get shallow engagement, or you can get true relationship building, engagement, and connection with your audience. And it's super important to realize that if you want to be a go-to resource, if you want your personal brand, your business brand to be really stand out in such a way that people think of you when they think of valuable solutions and results, then show up that way. When you comment back on things, train, teach, offer value, give all you can. Just like if you went to an in-person networking, event, if you want to make that a valuable event for you and everybody there, then show up and serve and help them. Don't try to pitch and sell what you're doing all the time. Not that you don't ever bring that up, but really focus on like, how can I solve problems for people, help them feel better and be encouraged and move in their journey. And when that's how you post, comment, message, and really engage intentionally in the relationships, then everything's going to be different. As opposed to, you can put up a wacky video, or you can try to be trendy, or you can try to be entertaining, and that's not wrong. But if you only focus there, then you're going to be starting to teach everybody that follows you that what you have to offer is shallow or funny or just engagement for engagement's sake, and they're not going to think of you as a solutions expert, as somebody that can really help them solve problems and grow and improve their life.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge point to dig in on is when you're like, likes can be a great sign, right? Like, but they're a passive form of engagement, right? They're more of a vanity metric than you think. You should really aim for those comments, those shares, and those clicks that drive a deeper level of interest, and then provide value when you're interacting with people. Something, we have about 50 clients right now, and with every single one that we do social media for, we're always encouraging them on their side to engage with the people that are commenting, answer questions, provide resources, feedback. That's one that's really big is when you're commenting and sharing a thread with somebody on a social media post. Not only does everybody see that, but you're also showing that you care. You're showing that you're invested in that relationship with that person, and that can branch out onwards from just that. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really important that when you're trying to drive traffic on your social media page, you need to be engaging with the people who actually care, because it takes time and effort to actually drop a comment on something. That's showing that the very first sign of interest, right? And that's super important. So those are the types of metrics we want to dive into today, is comments and even shares, right? Shares can be really important too, right, Gabe? Like they can deepen your network and expand your target audience.
Yeah, and there's two sides to shares. You can post something shallow, funny, entertaining, and people will probably share it.
Sure.
And you can also post like a really inspirational quote, and people will share it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good starting point.
Yeah.
But when you know that your content is truly useful and resonating, people will share it and add commentary. So like I just yesterday, a good friend and off and on client, we've worked together on different projects over the years. He posted an incredible video about truly breaking down what a brand is. And I loved it. And so I posted it a couple places and shared, this is why I like this. This is super helpful and useful. Like I added my commentary to it, as opposed to when you just get a bunch of shares. That's okay. That's is valuable. But you can measure the quality of your content and the engagement with your audience and your friends and the relationships that you have on social media when they share something and say, man, check this out. Nathan just did this. It's super cool. Or this is really valuable or useful. When they add commentary to the share, like they add a line or say like, this is why I liked it.
Yeah.
That's a true grade of like real engagement from your audience. And you can start out with just a share and people may not do anything. But as you see that change and people start to say like, this is why I find it valuable, or anybody looking for this resource, it's helpful. That's when you know you're resonating at the next level with your audience.
Yeah, and like you said, it's that continues building relationships too. Like when you're sharing things that are important to you and valuable to the people that follow you, they see that, they recognize that, they're more likely to engage. You mentioned branding. That builds your brand as you continue to be consistent on social media and share and post things that are relevant to the business that you're in or whatever you're trying to achieve on your social media. It'll stack upon itself, right? Like it'll continue to build your brand, build trust, and drive engagement on your social media platforms. It's really, really important to make sure that the content that you're engaging with is important to the people that you're trying to attract to your social media page. Yeah. So I think that that's huge. A couple other metrics that I wanted to talk about, because we want to, also talk about metrics that are important rather than just the vanity side of things, is click-through rates.
Yep.
You should always be monitoring if you're doing business on social media. You should be monitoring these. That's what sets Business Marketing Engine apart from a lot of the other marketing agencies. Is not only, of course, the extensive research that we do, but also the continual optimization of the funnels that we have, and especially on social media. So click-through rates, or CTRs, as we say, are really important. Are people clicking the links that you share? A high CTR really shows your audience, shows that your audience is interested in learning more about your offerings, right? They're actually engaged in what you have to say.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. That is a metric that I believe will be valuable and measurable for many years to come because, yeah, if I post something and say, here's this awesome solution we have, or here's how we help and serve people, that's great. And people may comment or
Mm,
engage or review it, which is valuable. That's a starting point. But when you're truly offering something that your audience wants, then they'll take the extra step. And that takes a decision. It takes a little bit of effort. It's a micro commitment. But when they click out and start to view the video or they can link out to, or if you're going to a landing page or they want to download a resource or see what you're talking about, then you know that you've shared something that's valuable enough that they're willing to risk spending a little bit of time to learn about it. And so, yeah, measuring your click-through rates, both from what you organically post on social media and of course also your any paid advertising you do on social media is really key because that's a true measure of engagement and interest, and it's the first top of the funnel part to make sure you're
right.
measuring how many people saw this and then how many people took the next step and clicked on this and wanted to learn more.
Yeah, and that actually leads right into the next metric that I have, and that's actually true lead generation because we tell our clients a lot of the time social media is primarily used for a branding tool and engagement, and it can drive leads. But what's really important is, are you capturing leads through your social media in the form of contests or anything like that? Um, it's a real clear indicator of if your social media is generating qualified leads because like I said, social media is a tool that's primarily used for branding and engagement, but it can procure leads. So what would you say is the way to go about that? If you really wanted to get lead generation from social media, what kind of tips and tricks would give our audience on how to do that? Because it can be a little bit difficult in the social media space depending on which platform that you're using, right?
Yeah. The first thing to remember is that if you want to create that engagement and have people reach out and be willing to risk their contact information or a little bit of time, to look into something or potentially interact with you in Messenger or book a call, is they're not going to instantly trust you. And so it takes time to build your brand, to post consistently. And depending on where you start, depending on your market, depending on your offer, that could be a few months, it could be
Yeah.
a year. But and I say that intentionally because we have some clients who have a really specialized market and a specific target market. And so I have a longtime client who started out posting and his content was optimized to match his audience needs. He did his research. We gave him, all the tools and training and support, and we helped him create some content. And he kept posting for 9 months. And he said, I don't know if this is going to work. He was talking to me and the team, and we said, you're posting the right things. You are getting comments. People are engaging. Just stick with it and be faithful in the process. And then it was really exciting because it was actually a little over a year mark of him consistently posting. And then he brought in a few six-figure contracts from
Wow.
leads that came from social media. And so that principle and that approach applies when you're posting organic content, which is key to build your brand, because building your brand is helping people know, like, and trust you. Like, those are terms we hear a lot in the marketing, but it's in the marketing world. But it's really about, like, if I continually tell my story, show how I can serve and help, offer value, support, engage, then people begin to trust who I am. Just like
Right.
in a real life, in real life community, if somebody's showing up and always helpful and useful and somebody that you enjoy talking with and you get to know them, then when they have a need, you'll be the first person they think of. So when you do that effectively with your organic posting and you're consistent and you choose just one or two social media platforms to lean into and really invest in, then it's easy to add in paid traffic and paid campaigns on social media, and they're going to perform well too because people will know who you are and you'll have some level of trust there. And so that's really key. And then ultimately you can use landing pages and people can go sign up to download a guide or engage with you or book a call. You can also have calls to action that say, if you have questions about this, just message me. You can also just post things that are so interesting and engaging and helpful that I have had content go out where we've intentionally not really put any CTAs, and people message me and say, hey, I want to learn more about this. And so when those types of things happen, you know you're really on track and you're adding true value to your audience. And value, I kind of knew this unconsciously for quite a few years, but I ended up having a conversation with a friend of mine one day, and he said, true value is saving people time and saving people money. And if you can do one of those, it's fairly valuable. If you can do both of those things together, then you've created amazing value. And so when
Yeah.
your content shows that this is going to save you time, it's going to save you money, or it's going to make you money, making and saving money is two ends of the same spectrum, right? So when you put that stuff out and people understand, holy cow, this would really change things for me, this would be valuable, it'd save me time, or it'd make me money, or save me money, they're going to reach out and want to know about how it works and how to, get the resources or work with you.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And that actually, you always take the words out of my mouth, I swear. I have a list of things I need to talk about, and you always talk about them. It just goes to show you guys how knowledgeable Gabe is. But that actually is something I wanted to dig into on another metric that is important, brand mentions. How often are people talking about your brand online? What this does is this shows brand awareness can be a great tool for measuring the impact of your social media strategy. Like we said before, social media is primarily used for branding when it comes to business. Lead generation and other things can come from it. But like you said, it took one of our clients almost a year to actually get that. But that entire year, what were they doing? Building their brand. And so what would you say is important when it comes to brand mentions, when it comes to other people, talking about your brand? You said earlier about how one of your friends or one of your colleagues had something that was tremendously valuable and you posted it. So in turn, you did a little bit of branding for them as well. And we've had that same experience as well, where other entrepreneurs or business owners find what we do valuable and throw a share our way, throw the bone out. So what would you say has been your experience when it comes to brand mentions in the entrepreneurial space?
Yeah, it's a really cool result that you will get if you're willing to be faithful and consistent for the long term. And so I've been through many seasons as an entrepreneur. There's been seasons where I have definitely been more quiet online and had personal stuff going on, or really heavy investment seasons in the business internally with operational stuff, and we haven't been, as consistent. Like, that happens to all of us. But for the majority of the time that I've had this business, I've fortunately had good examples and been willing to commit to posting consistently, putting things out there. And when you do that, you get a double value, and probably even a triple value at some level. But the double value of some of the people in your audience are going to eventually be in a position where they could potentially use your services and they might need you. And so
Right.
that brand equity is just consistently showing up and saying, here's how we help and serve, and here's some amazing resources for you. There's another portion of your audience that's equally as valuable and sometimes more valuable, that is watching, and they don't need anything from you, but they work with a bunch of people that need your services.
Exactly.
And so as I look back over the years and the millions of dollars, that we've been able to, generate, and how we serve and help people, it's been amazing to look back and backtrack and go, wow, a huge portion of the people that we work with came from referrals from people that never did business with us, but watched us, followed us. They were in a similar industry or even a very different industry. And then they meet somebody that says, man, I'm really stuck on marketing, or I need this application built, or I really need help with my tech stack. And they'll go, oh, you need to talk to Gabe and VME, because they do that all the time. And that's where some of the most amazing opportunities have come, because I'm building trust, in all the different segments of the audience, that follows us. And those are all people that I want to have a relationship with. And so I'm happy to start with just showing up, providing value, and really, putting something really good in their feed every day.
Yeah, and that's super important. Some of the best conversations I've had for the company are through referrals, through people who we have done excellent work for and built truly quality relationships with, flows over into their network and their people, because relationships are like a tree, you know what I mean? They're constantly growing and evolving. And so if you really nurture this seed into a tree and really like put a lot of effort into growing this person's business and their brand, and just really caring about that relationship, it's going to feed into other businesses as well. And this can go into almost any industry, almost any business that we've worked with. And so it's really, really important to focus on building your brand in a quality and impactful way. And so I think that's truly important. Another thing that's truly important is CTAs. You mentioned that earlier. You took the words out of my mouth, Gabe. CTAs are important, guys. When you're putting posts on social media, ask your followers to take action. And that really begs the question, how are your social media efforts going? You, the watcher, the listener, how has it been going? Is it great? Is it awesome? Or is it not great? Even atrocious? We've seen it all. Could it just be a little bit better? We have some really awesome market research processes that tell us which platforms your target audience spends the most time on, what they engage with, and what they want to hear. So if you guys want to learn a little bit more about what we do on the social media ends of things, click the description below and book a call with me. I'd love to learn a little bit more about what your experience has been on social media, what kind of engagement you have, and how we can help that grow and expand like we've done for almost 10,000 businesses over the years. So we would love to have a chat with you guys about that. But with that being said, I wanted to move on to another section that we have today, and that's, of course, our wins. We have to talk about what we have going on our end, and some clients that we've had success with. And this is a story that I really wanted to tell today of a company we just signed on to work with called Olivino Life. And the owner of that company is truly one of the most aligned people that I've ever spoke to that have worked with the business during my time of being here. And I wanted to kind of tell the story of that. So I called her one day and, we had never engaged before. And we just kicked it off with, obviously some soft openers of, like, here's what I do, here's what we do, what's your experience been? But what really set her apart from other calls that I even had that day is just her attention to detail and how passionate and considerate she was about her business. She was detailed in telling me about what her struggles have been, where she has found success, and what her goals are. And those three pillars really led me to believe you need to speak to Gabe. That's kind of how our processes go, is we want them to be able to speak to Gabe to learn a little bit more about how we operate as a company. But I wanted to dig into that with you, Gabe, about what makes somebody aligned to work with BME. And this can translate into other industries as well, because one thing I'll say, and then I'll get your opinion on this, is over the years at Business Marketing Engine, we've worked with a lot of different companies. But in the season of business and of growth we're in right now, we pick and choose the people that we work with. We want them to be seasoned entrepreneurs who are willing to learn, grow, and adapt and collaborate. These are really, really important traits that we look for in the prospects that we get. And so I wanted to get your take on that as it pertains to my experience with Olivino Life.
Yeah, you're definitely right, Nathan, and we're definitely looking for, like you said, the seasoned entrepreneurs, which I agree with, and I'll expand that a little bit more. It's when we say that a seasoned entrepreneur, it's not necessarily how long they've had the business or if they've just started
Exactly.
out, but it's really somebody that has that intention and that understanding that it's going to require consistent effort and investment over time, and that true success comes when you play the long game. And that's
Yep.
one of the biggest factors of what very quickly stood out to me when we connected with Olivino Life, is that they're truly out there trying to make a difference for their customers and provide the absolute best quality of their
Yep.
products, and that they're willing to continue to learn and grow and invest because they understand that if they can invest and adjust processes and learn and grow, that they have the opportunity to serve more people. And so what's been really exciting with that client is, they came on very open to learn and grow. They were honest about what mistakes they had. I've made. I will never be able to keep track of all the mistakes or the kind of mistakes I've made. That's a normal part of the journey. And when you're just honest about the mistakes you've made, the success you've had, where you want to go, and you're willing to think long term over what does the next year look like? What does the next 2 or 3 years look like?
Yeah.
Just at least thinking out that far, then you have the opportunity to be very successful. And it's been awesome to see just our partnership with that client continue to grow, because now, we're starting to move into launching new campaigns, helping them acquire
Yep.
new customers, and we're really starting to look at strategically where does the business need to grow over the next year, 2 years, so that we can guide and support that, that where they're investing their marketing time and effort and resources is going to attract the right folks and help them grow profitably. And that's the strategic, look that that's the strategic view that we take on everything. When we look at, how do we provide, world-class marketing and technology and results, and how do we lead and support inside of that relationship. And so I'm super excited for the growth they're already experiencing,
Yeah.
and just everything that's coming through with them. It's going to be an amazing partnership, and we're really grateful that we get to, partner with amazing clients like that.
Super grateful. And there's a couple other things I wanted to touch on before we wrap up with them is, We speak to a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs every day, especially me and with my role with the company, and so many people have been burned. Gabe knows this, I know this, the whole team knows this. There has been a lot of people who have been burned by marketing agencies. That's why we have to show up and serve. It's not just a want or a desire, it's a duty and an obligation for us to show how we provide world-class service to the businesses that we work with and how we really drive those relationships for the long term. And I actually have a quote from the owner of Olivino Life that I wanted to share, which really means a lot to us, which is what she said is, I have to say I've worked with, as we all have in our life, a lot of people, right? A lot of people. I applaud you in terms of your responsiveness to everything that we've asked for. It's a rare quality, and it's unfortunate, but it's rare. But sorry, excuse me. It's unfortunate that it's rare, but it is rare, and that is truly true. And it's really given us comfort that we're with the right team now, because when we ask for something, it gets answered very soon. And that goes to show the level of detail and attentiveness that our marketing strategists, copywriters, graphic designers, and especially project managers have when we worked hand in hand with a client. That's how we build relationships that last for years and years with the businesses we engage with, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we know that if it's important and it's brought up, that we need to address it and give support. Sometimes it's we give support and redirect to a better solution. Many times it's like, yeah, that's important to you. We're going to make sure that's resolved, that happens, that you have all the support you need there. And that's what I'm so proud of the team, because the level of communication and attention to detail, like you said, is stellar, and communication is what drives, success in a partnership. And so it was really special to receive that feedback from our client, and just see the reflection of how we truly do show up every day, and how we intend to show up every day. And so I'm super grateful for that awesome partnership, and it's early stages, but it's going to be an amazing partnership over the years.
That's what I wanted to end on, is this is a very early client. We signed with her not that long ago, within the past couple of months. And it goes to show we show up and serve the same way on day one, as year 2, as year 5, as year 10, as year 15. We will show up and serve well from the day we meet and engage with you to the day you move on and scale. Sometimes that happens, or if they want to continue working with us. It's what we pride ourselves on, and it's truly what gives me enjoyment working here. So with that, we want to end on today's episode. So guys, if you ever need any help with, tracking quality metrics with your social media, let us know. We have lots of tips and tricks when it comes to driving that brand awareness on any social media platform you feel is worthy of your time. But Gabe, it's been excellent to be here with you today. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you all next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.